Welcome to another deep dive. We're tackling the 2024 D&D Bard today.
Yeah, breaking down the class itself, and then you know how its subclasses can really change up how you play it.
Absolutely, and we've got some great resources to help us do that.
We do. We've got a bunch of articles from RPGBOT to dig into.
Mainly focused on the Bard itself.
Right, so we've got one on the overall Bard class.
Yep.
Then another article looking at subclasses generally.
Mm-hmm.
And then a deep dive specifically on the College of Dance.
I'm excited for that one.
Me too. It's a cool one.
Yeah. So our mission today is to, pull out the most important stuff about the new Bard.
Right, and highlight what's different, compared to the older version.
And of course, see what makes each of those subclasses tick.
Exactly.
So let's get right to it.
Yep.
When we look at this 2024 Bard,
Yeah.
what's the big headline?
I mean, I think it's still that super versatile jack of all trades,
Right.
but they've really leaned into that even more.
Okay. How so?
Well, you get access to any skill in the game now.
Wow, really any skill.
Yeah. Which is amazing for so many situations.
Like especially social encounters.
Totally. And then, you get expertise too.
Oh, right. Expertise.
And that comes early on now at level 2.
Nice. So you're really good at a couple of those skills right off the bat.
Exactly. And if, of course, you're still a full spellcaster.
So we're talking about a character who could be, the party's smooth talker.
Right.
Talking their way into or out of anything, or maybe they're the scout sneaking around.
Gathering information.
Or a controller, battlefield control with their spells.
Mm-hmm.
Or even support keeping everyone healed and buffed.
They really can fill any role in the party.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The articles did point out, though, that if you really need massive damage to a single target,
right,
or the ability to just take a ton of hits,
yeah,
a bard might not be as specialized as like a fighter or a barbarian.
Sure, but that flexibility is huge.
Oh, absolutely. Being able to contribute in so many ways is a massive advantage.
Okay, so let's get to the good stuff.
Okay.
What are the big changes?
You mean from the 2014 rules?
Yeah. You know what's different about the Bard in 2024?
Oh, there are some interesting tweaks.
Like what?
Well, for starters, their weapon proficiencies are simpler now.
Okay, what does that mean?
It's just simple weapons.
Mm.
Those few martial weapons they had before are gone.
So maybe less emphasis on swinging a sword?
Yeah. Unless you go for a specific subclass that gives you more weapon options.
Makes sense.
Another key change is bardic inspiration.
Oh, yeah. How does that work now?
Well, first off, those dice expire after an hour.
An hour, so you gotta use them.
Right, it encourages you to be more generous with them.
I like that.
But the bigger change is you use them after a failed D20 roll.
Oh, that's different. Instead of having to declare it beforehand.
Exactly.
So no more worrying about wasting it.
Right.
That's a great quality of life change.
For sure, it feels a lot better.
Okay. What else stood out to you?
Well, there's a small but really nice update to spellcasting.
Okay.
When you level up as a bard now, you can swap out one of your cantrips.
Oh, nice. For a different one.
Yeah, so you get a little more flexibility as you go.
I like that.
And as we said before, expertise comes online earlier.
Right. At level 2.
And then again at level 9.
So you're super skilled from the get-go.
Pretty much.
Now, what about Jack of all trades?
You mean that feature?
Yeah, I remember it used to give a bonus to initiative.
That's changed. They've made a significant adjustment there.
Oh, how so?
Well, now Jack of all trades only applies to skill checks.
Okay.
Only the ones where you're proficient in the skill.
So no more initiative bonus.
Right.
Interesting. And there was another feature.
Song of Rest.
Yes, Song of Rest. A lot of parties love that one.
I know, it was a go-to for healing during short rests.
But they got rid of it.
Yeah, it's completely gone in 2024.
Wow, that's a big change. So how are they handling the loss of healing?
Well, they introduced a new feature at level 5.
Okay, what is it?
It's called Font of Inspiration.
Font of Inspiration.
And it lets you spend a spell slot to get back a use of bardic inspiration.
So if you're running low on those dice,
You can refill them.
handy, especially in a tough dungeon.
Right, and counter charm is different too.
Counter charm, that one that helps against charm and fear effects.
Yeah, it's a reaction now.
Oh, wow. So you can use it in the moment.
Exactly, much more useful that way.
Big buff for counter charm.
Definitely.
Okay, now let's talk about the big one.
You mean magical secrets?
Yes, Magical Secrets, the Bard's signature spell-stealing ability.
Oh yeah, that's gotten a complete overhaul.
Tell me everything.
Well, first off, it's not a limited list of spells anymore.
So it's not like you pick from a specific set.
No, starting at level 10, you choose from the Bard, Cleric, Druid, and Wizard spell lists.
Wow, so much broader.
And this applies even when you're swapping out spells you already knew.
So lots of flexibility.
Yeah, but Those restrictions on Paladin, Ranger, and Warlock spells are still there.
Okay, so those are still off limits.
Right.
But that's a huge expansion of options.
It really is.
What about those high-level capstone features?
So at level 18, you get Superior Inspiration.
Right.
And that now gives you 2 Bardic Inspiration dice when you regain them.
Instead of just 1.
Yep, makes it even more powerful.
Nice. And at level 20?
You get Words of Creation.
Yeah, and what's different about that?
Well, now it affects 2 creatures with those power word spells.
Ooh, the power word heal or power word kill?
Exactly, even more impactful at those high levels.
Very cool. So it sounds like a lot of these changes are about making the bard more adaptable.
Yeah.
And giving them access to their core abilities more readily.
Right?
Maybe shifting away from being a primarily martial character at the base level.
I think so.
So if someone's starting fresh with this new bard,
Yeah.
what ability scores are most important?
Charisma is still king.
Of course it powers all that spell casting and those bard features.
Exactly. But the articles really stressed that dexterity and constitution are vital too.
Yeah, for staying alive.
Especially since they're usually in light armor and have a D8 hit die.
Right, and if you're going for a more melee-focused subclass.
Like the College of Dance.
Yeah, then dexterity becomes even more important.
Absolutely.
The articles had some examples for distributing ability scores, right?
Yeah, for point buy and the standard array.
What was the general advice?
Well, they said go for the highest charisma possible right away.
Okay.
So probably a 15 with point buy, maybe even a 17 if your race gives you a charisma bonus.
Right, makes sense then.
Then you want good dexterity and constitution.
Okay.
Probably around 14 or 15 to start.
And then the rest?
You can spread those out among intelligence, wisdom, and strength.
With strength usually being the lowest priority.
Yeah, unless you're going for a very specific build.
So charisma for the bard stuff, dexterity and constitution to stay in the fight.
That's the gist of it.
What about skills with access to every skill in the game?
I know, right?
Where should a bard focus?
Well, even though they can pick anything, the articles highlighted a few that are super useful.
Okay, like what?
Perception is always good, for spotting danger. For social stuff, persuasion, deception, and insight are your best friends.
Makes sense. What about non-social skills?
Stealth can be great for scouting ahead.
Okay.
And arcana history and religion can give you some crucial knowledge.
So you can be the party's know-it-all.
Yeah, kind of funny, though.
What is it?
The articles mentioned that the performance skill itself doesn't actually have a lot of mechanical weight in the class features.
Really? That is surprising for a bard.
It is. It's more of a flavor thing, I guess.
Interesting. So you could have a mechanically optimized bard who isn't a performer.
Exactly.
Huh. All right. Let's move on to backgrounds. Where should a bard look for a good starting point?
The articles were pretty clear on this.
What'd they say?
Go for a background that gives you a charisma bonus.
Makes sense, since that's so important for the class.
Right. They mentioned a few good options.
Like what? Charlatan.
Okay, good for deception, sleight of hand.
Yeah.
What else? Entertainer fits the theme. Gives you performance and acrobatics. Wayfarer for survival and stealth. Merchant for insight and persuasion. And noble for history and persuasion.
So lots of options that boost charisma.
Yeah, they also briefly talk about origin feats.
Origin feats, those are the ones you get from some backgrounds, right?
Exactly. They can give you a nice little bonus at level 1.
Okay, cool. Now what about races?
You mean species?
Yeah, species. Are there any that really shine for the 2024 bard?
Oh, there are a few that have traits that work really well.
Like what?
Dark vision is always nice, being able to see in the dark. And races that give you extra skills.
Oh yeah, like elves and humans.
Exactly. More skills are always good for a bard.
Makes sense.
And damage resistances.
Like those from Asmar Dragonborn or dwarves.
Right. Those can help you stay alive.
Especially at low levels.
Yeah, and some species even have innate spell casting.
Oh, yeah.
Like high elves, gnomes, and tieflings.
So you can get spells not normally on the bard list.
Exactly. And they mentioned Goliaths, too.
Goliaths.
Their ability to move as a reaction can be surprisingly useful.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're in melee range.
Right.
So lots of good choices there.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of bard you want to play.
Okay, let's talk about feats.
Feats?
Yeah, those let you really customize your character.
Right.
What are some good ones for a bard?
And which ones should you probably skip?
Yeah.
Well, the articles broke it down into origin feats and general feats.
Okay, so starting with origin feats.
Lucky is always a good one.
For any character, really.
Right? Magic Initiate could be awesome.
Oh, yeah. Grabbing a cantrip or a first level spell from another class.
Exactly.
And musician is thematically appropriate.
Plus, it gives you some nice benefits.
Sure.
Skilled lets you get even more skills.
You can never have too many skills as a bard.
That's true. And tough just gives you more hit points.
Which is always welcome.
Always.
What feats did they say to avoid?
Things like Savage Attacker and Tavern Brawler. Because bards don't usually focus on making lots of attacks.
Right.
Or using unarmed strikes.
And those feats that give you proficiency in heavy armor?
They said those are usually not worth it.
Better to just take a level in fighter.
Yeah, if you want that heavy armor and more.
Okay, makes sense. Stick to feats that make the bard better at what they already do well.
Right.
What about general feats?
Fey Touched is great.
Why is that?
You get extra spells and Misty Step.
Oh, yeah, for teleporting.
Exactly. Inspiring Leader is good for keeping your party alive.
How so?
It gives them temporary hit points.
Oh, yeah, that's always helpful.
And Resilient Constitution.
That's important for bards.
Very, because it helps you maintain concentration on your spells.
Even if you're taking damage.
All right. Skill Expert gives you even more skills.
And another expertise.
Yep. You can be a master of everything.
Cool.
Telekinetic is good for moving stuff around on the battlefield.
Okay.
And Warcaster can be helpful.
Especially if you're a bard who gets up close and personal. They mentioned epic boons too, right?
Yeah, just briefly.
Those are for high-level campaigns.
Right. They said even if you're a martial-ish bard,
yeah,
boons that boost weapon attacks aren't as good as those that improve your spellcasting.
Okay.
Or your overall toughness.
Like what?
Things like the boon of dimensional travel or the boon of energy resistance.
Makes sense. Focus on what the bard does best.
Right.
All right, let's talk gear.
Gear.
Yeah, what kind of weapons and armor should a bard be using?
Well, the basic bard, they're proficient with simple weapons and light armor.
Okay.
Good simple weapon choices include the dagger.
Because it has finesse, right?
Yeah, you can use dexterity for attack and damage.
Nice. And what about ranged options?
Light crossbow or longbow are solid.
Especially at lower levels.
Right, when you don't have as many spells.
And you could pair those with a cantrip?
Oh, yeah, like True Strike.
If you really need to hit something?
Exactly.
What about armor?
Leather or studded leather are your go-tos.
For light protection.
Right, but things change a bit for the College of Valor.
Ah, yes, the martial bard.
Well, they try to be.
What do they get?
They add proficiency in martial weapons, medium armor, and shields.
Okay, so what does that open up?
Well, for melee, you could use a rapier.
Which also uses dexterity.
Yep. And for ranged, the musket is an option.
Although it has that loading property.
Which can be annoying if you get extra attack.
Yeah, true.
For armor, you could go with half plate.
For a nice boost to your AC.
Exactly. And a shield is always good for extra defense.
Now, bards are known for being multi-classing stars.
Multi-classing.
Yeah, dipping into other classes.
Right.
What are some good multi-class options for the 2024 bard?
They highlighted a few interesting ones.
Like what?
Taking just one level of fighter can be amazing.
Really? Why is that?
Well, you get proficiency in constitution saving throws.
Okay.
Heavy armor and shields.
Wow.
Martial weapons, a fighting style, and the second wind ability to heal yourself.
So much good stuff just for one level.
It's often a better martial start than the College of Valor.
That's saying something.
Yeah.
What other multi-class options?
Rogue can give you more expertise and cunning action.
Cunning action is so good.
It is.
What about spellcasters?
Sorcerer and Wizard can give you more spell slots and spells.
Okay.
Sorcerers also get metamagic.
To tweak their spells?
Right.
What about Paladin? They also use charisma.
They do, but the article said the synergy isn't always there mechanically.
Interesting. So maybe not the best choice.
Probably not.
That one level in fighter, though.
It's super popular.
For good reason, it seems.
Definitely.
Okay, let's finally dig into subclasses.
The heart of the bard.
Right. The article's focused on the ones in the player's handbook.
So College of Dance, College of Glamour, College of Lore, and College of Valor.
Right. That choice you make at level 3.
It's crucial.
It really defines your bard.
How they play and what their role in the party is.
Let's start with the College of Dance.
Oh yeah, this one's all about turning the bard into an unarmed fighter.
Which is pretty unique.
It is. It's a big departure from the typical bard.
But it also has some great support capabilities.
Right. It's not just about hitting things with your fists.
So what makes this subclass tick?
Their level 3 feature dazzling footwork is amazing.
Tell me about it.
It gives you permanent advantage on performance checks that involve dancing.
Okay.
You can add your charisma modifier to your AC.
Wow, charisma to AC for a martial character.
Yeah, it's great.
What else?
It adds bardic damage to your unarmed strikes.
Okay.
And it gives you agile strikes, which improves the damage die of your unarmed strikes as you level up.
So you actually hit pretty hard.
You can, especially later on.
Very cool. What else does the College of Dance get?
At level 6, you get Inspiring Movement.
What's that?
It lets you move as a reaction after you hit a creature with an unarmed strike.
So you can reposition yourself in combat.
Exactly. Very tactical.
I like it.
Also at level 6 is Tandem Footwork.
Okay.
This gives your whole party an initiative bonus based on your Bardic Inspiration die roll.
So everyone goes first.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a huge advantage.
That's awesome. And at level 14?
You get Leading Evasion.
Which is an improved version of evasion.
Right. Makes you even harder to hit.
So all very strong abilities that create a unique playstyle.
Yeah, for sure.
What backgrounds work well with the College of Dance Bard?
They recommended Charlatan Entertainer and Wayfarer.
All charisma-boosting backgrounds.
Exactly.
What about species?
Dragonborn are a good choice.
For their breath weapon.
And their potential for flight.
Right.
And Goliaths are good too.
Because they can knock enemies prone.
Exactly. Setting up those advantage attacks.
So we know charisma is important for any bard.
Right.
But how vital is dexterity for this subclass?
Oh, it's much more important for the College of Dance.
Yeah.
You use it for attack rolls with your unarmed strikes.
Right.
And it adds to your AC along with your charisma.
Of course, constitution is still important too.
For sure. For your hit points and concentration checks.
What about feats?
Inspiring Leader is still a good one.
For those temporary hit points.
Yep. Speedy can help you get around the battlefield faster. And they mention Grappler.
Grappler.
Especially if you take a level in Monk.
Oh, a monk dip.
Yeah, which can improve your grapple DC and give you a bonus action unarmed strike.
So really leaning into the unarmed combat style.
Totally.
The articles even had an example build called the Harlequin Solitaire.
Oh, yeah, that one's interesting.
It takes that monk dip even further.
It does. It also adds paladin levels at higher levels.
So a multi-class mix of monk, paladin, and bard.
Exactly.
That sounds potent.
It is. It creates a very self-sufficient character.
Interesting.
Good for solo play or smaller parties.
Okay, let's move on to the College of Glamour.
Okay.
This one's more about spellcasting support and mental debuffs.
Right. They focus on enchantment and illusion magic.
The articles did say that a lot of their abilities use up resources, though.
Yeah. Bardic inspiration and spell slots.
So you got to be careful.
Definitely.
What are some of the key features of the College of Glamour?
Well, at level 3, you get beguiling music.
Beguiling music. What's
That's right.
that do?
It lets you try to charm or frighten enemies when you cast certain spells.
Which spells?
Enchantment or illusion spells that use a spell slot.
So you can really control the battlefield.
You can.
What else?
Also at level 3 is Mantle of Inspiration.
Okay.
This gives your allies temporary hit points.
Nice.
And they can use their reaction to move without provoking attacks.
Very handy.
Then at level 6, there's Mantle of Majesty.
Oh, Majesty.
This lets you cast Command as a bonus action.
Nice.
And in the 2024 rules, it recharges when you use a spell slot of 3rd level or higher.
So you can use it multiple times.
If you have the spell slots.
Right. And what's their level 14 ability?
Unbreakable Majesty.
Unbreakable Majesty.
It's a defensive ability that helps you against attacks.
Okay, so a mix of offense, defense, and support.
Yeah, they're well-rounded.
Using those charm and fear effects with your spells sounds really strong.
It can be, especially at lower levels.
Right.
But the articles did warn that a lot of high-level creatures are resistant or immune to charm and fear.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But those temporary hit points and reaction movement are always useful.
Keeping your party safe.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to the College of Lore.
One of the classics.
Yeah, they're all about being the versatile expert.
Right. They enhance all the bard's core strengths.
Skills, spells, bardic inspiration.
The whole package.
So what are their defining features?
At level 3, they get additional proficiencies.
More skills.
3 more skills of your choice.
So they're even more of a skill monkey.
Pretty much.
What else?
They also get Cutting Words at level 3.
Cutting words. What's that?
It lets you use your reaction and a bardic inspiration die to subtract the number rolled from an enemy's roll.
Like an ability check, attack roll, or damage roll.
Exactly.
So you can really mess with their plans.
You can.
Very cool.
At level 6, they get Magical Discoveries.
Which is the new additional magical secrets.
Right. They get access to spells from the Cleric, Druid, and Wizard lists.
That's huge. So much versatility.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons the College of Lore is so popular.
And at level 14,
They get Peerless Skill.
Peerless Skill.
You can spend a bardic inspiration die to add it to a failed roll.
Oh, so you can turn a failure into a success.
Exactly. And now it works on attack rolls, too.
Nice.
So you can potentially turn a miss into a hit.
That's powerful.
It is.
So the College of Lore gets more skills, more spells, and a way to fix their mistakes.
Pretty much.
They really are the ultimate jack of all trades.
I think so.
All right, finally, let's talk about the College of Valor.
The Martial Bard.
Well, they try to be.
The articles weren't too impressed with them, though.
Yeah, they seemed a bit underwhelming.
They pointed out that even though the College of Valor is supposed to be good at combat,
Yeah.
they often don't measure up to other martial classes.
Or even to the bard's own spellcasting potential.
Right, they end up being a bit of a jack-of-all-trades, master of none.
So what are their features?
At level 3, they get combat inspiration,
Okay.
which lets you give a creature a bonus to their AC if they're hit,
Okay.
or a bonus to their next attack or damage roll.
So a bit of offense and defense.
Right. Then they get martial training.
Which used to be called additional proficiencies.
Yeah, this gives them proficiency in medium armor shields, martial weapons.
Okay.
And they can use a weapon as a spellcasting focus.
Right.
At level 6, they get extra attack,
So 2 attacks.
or 1 attack and a cantrip.
Interesting.
And at level 14, they get battle magic.
Battle magic.
This lets you make a weapon attack as a bonus action after casting a spell.
Okay, so you can mix spells and swordplay?
Yeah. But the article said it's not as good as it sounds.
So the College of Valor is a bit of a mixed bag.
I think so.
They're trying to bridge the gap between magic and martial combat.
But they don't quite pull it off.
Maybe in a future edition they'll get some tweaks.
Maybe.
So to sum up, the 2024 Bard is a very adaptable class.
With lots of cool updates.
Bardic inspiration and skills are more reliable.
And you get to choose your subclass at level 3.
To really focus your Bard.
Do you want to be a dancer, a talker, a scholar, or a warrior?
So many options.
Exactly.
And for you, our listener,
We hope this deep dive has been helpful.
we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
But hopefully you now have a good understanding of the 2024 Bard.
And all its different subclasses.
Think about which path appeals to you the most.
And how it fits into your group.
We encourage you to dig deeper into any subclass that caught your eye.
And think about how these 2024 changes might affect your games.
And here's a final thought.
A question for you to ponder.
With all these spells and skills the Bard can now do,
How might that change how D&D parties are built in the future?
it's something to consider.
Until our next deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.